Hello everyone, ciao ragazzi, welcome to our podcast about Formula One in Osservatore Sportivo. My name is Justina, I'm a Formula One journalist. Let me introduce our guests, Manena and Mandy. Manena is a blogger from Mexico. She has her own YouTube channel about Formula One. She had an internship at the Mexican Grand Prix. Mandy is a motorsport journalist from the United States. She's an accredited journalist for IndyCar, World Endurance Championship, GT World Challenge America, and the F1 America Series. Also, she has her own YouTube channel and blog. Hi, girls. How are you?
So
Hi.
good. Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, great. This is our second episode where we are going to talk about the upcoming season. And it would seem that last season just ended and we are already on the threshold of a new one. January has already been inundated with news, so let's discuss some of them today and generally share our expectation for this season. Recently, Formula One has introduced a new racing calendar. The championship starts a week later than originally planned, and due to the pandemic, the Australian Grand Prix has been postponed to the end of November, and the first race of the season will be held on March 28th in Bahrain. The race in Imola will replace the Chinese GP, but at the same time, there is no new date for the Chinese Grand Prix yet. And in addition, the date and venue of the race, which will be held on May 2nd, have not yet been announced. And girls, what other track will appear in the calendar, in your opinion?
Ooh, I think another track in Italy. I don't know where, but another track in Italy, or they might go to Bahrain again, just like previous season, because I feel those are the countries that are the most open to receiving the Formula One and receiving tourists. So, yes, I don't have a specific city per se, but those two countries.
Yes, definitely those two countries. And then I want to go ahead. I think that they're going to be heavily European, just because we're still not over COVID yet. And I think you're going to see a lot of the 2020 season things that happened in 2020 kind of flow over to this season until we can all get vaccinated. I think that's kind of what's going to happen, and maybe trying to change up, maybe even the Nürburgring again. Maybe that as well.
Yeah, I think about Italy too. I hope it will be Mugello because the race
Yeah.
there last year was just crazy, and it's very nice to see Imola again. And but at the end of the calendar, we have a surprise. Saudi Arabia will host the Grand Prix for the first time in history, and it's a very unusual place. But the experience of the Persian Gulf countries in terms of holding races is impressive. And the president of the Saudi Motorsport Federation has already said that they are working with Herman Tilke and Formula One to design the fastest urban track. And he promised that the street race in Saudi Arabia will not be standard. There will be a lot of overtaking. And girls, how can the Grand Prix in Saudi Arabia increase interest in motorsport in general?
Oh my gosh, this for me was like major news because we all know that Saudi Arabia is a more conservative country. So by this, they're kind of proving to us that in a way they're trying to be a little bit more open to everything that's happening in the world. For me, this was incredible news. We all know there's going to be a few restrictions, especially for women regarding the dress code, but knowing that it's gonna be street style, that's gonna be major. I'm very excited to see the Formula One for the first time in this country because I've always wanted to go there. So I am thrilled.
I think it's quite interesting, and I definitely am so interested. I'm really fascinated to see, like Manana was saying, they are a conservative country, so I'm really, really fascinated to see how they handle it. Like, because it is conservative for women. I want to know. I'm curious. I'm curious and fascinated. I want to see what they're going to do in that realm for the women that are coming in, things like that. I hope that it's all good. It's a new place, so it's exciting. Anytime you have a new track, that's always fresh. That's always exciting. There's some negative stuff going on. You see some journalists already saying, "I'm not covering that GP." We talk about race equality for things like that. But at the same time, we have to be a little bit open to these countries as well.
Yeah, I'm excited too about this news, and I think there may be many stages of various racing series in the future. And speaking of Formula One, if yeah, as we already said, if the situation in the world change by the end of the year, it will be a great opportunity for tourists to visit this country because it's almost impossible to go there just like that. And I would like to go to there as well. So yeah, okay, the calendar looks great, but still there are rumors about the cancellation of the Grand Prix. Recently, such news was about Monaco, but the organizers confirmed the race this year. Then there were news about Baku, about Sao Paulo. And how do you think the calendar will look like in the end? Which Grand Prix will be cancelled after all?
Oh, I hope there's no cancellations, to be honest, because the same thing happened last season. I mean, the season started so late in the year and there were so many cancellations. We even had like we mentioned at the beginning, so many races in Italy, 2 consecutive races in Bahrain. For me, that was probably a little bit disappointing. I know the situation is not ideal and there's so many countries that have certain restrictions because they do want to finish with COVID. But I'm not talking organization wise, I'm talking like pandemic wise. I hope this doesn't happen because I heard there was another rumor and maybe the Montreal Grand Prix was also going to be canceled. And I had big plans to go this year. So here I am crossing my fingers, hoping everything goes according to plan. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say.
I couldn't agree with you more. And the thing is, oh, I don't even want to talk about it because I don't want to put,
You don't want to jinx it.
I don't want to. I don't want to even jinx it or put the energy out. I'm worried about Coda. Come on. I am so worried about Coda because the WEC, they were supposed to come to Sebring in Florida. And that was supposed to happen, and it got canceled. Realistically, we have to be realistic, and it might be one of those things again where it's all Europe and it's all with the exception of like Dubai and Bahrain and maybe if they can get it together for Saudi Arabia, of course. But I'm worried, but I'm hoping for the best. F1 is huge. We need it. I need it. I need it to survive.
We all do.
We all need it.
We'll be fine. Cross fingers.
Yeah, that's another topic.
Okay, let's move on. Pre-season Formula One test is scheduled for mid-March and will be held in Bahrain. And it was originally scheduled to take place near Barcelona in Spain, but the duration of the test has been reduced from 6 days to 3 days. And how do you like this format of pre-season test? And what do you think about this decision to move the test venue?
I mean, time-wise, it's super savvy. I mean, I know it's not that much money, the money that they're going to be saving, but in a way, it is money that's going to be saved because each team is going to be 3 days less in a foreign country. But practice-wise, especially the new drivers, I feel they do need to test their cars to actually feel comfortable. I've said it before, Daniel Ricciardo is a veteran, but he's a clear example of how long he takes to get used to his new car in every team. So now imagine having 3 days less. I feel this is good and bad. I'm very neutral in this position, very biased, but yeah, I think it has its pros and cons, to be honest.
So I'll tell you, I know I always slide in IndyCar just because that's my thing. But I will tell you, I'm like, because that's my thing. I will tell you, last season, it was the first season with the aero screen. And that's huge for every driver. So not only did you have the aero screen, you had very condensed testing. And what you saw was craziness. You have to remember in IndyCar too, they have a lot of rookies. So the rookies were affected very heavily with that as well. The pro is about having short testing is that you get things thrown in, right? You get like, not everybody can be so precise. So you get some I don't even know the right thing, but you just get some wrenches thrown in. You get something you can expect the unexpected. And I'm talking about Formula One as well. All the results are all over the place and then qualifying. And then and then Mercedes miraculously comes in. No, but and does well.
Shocker.
But, yes, shocker. No, but what I mean is that the pros of that is that, yeah, you will see some of the teams, some of them will rise to the top, some of them won't. And some of them will be heavily affected more than the others. But I think you're going to get, with less testing, you're going to get a little bit more competitiveness when it comes to like the actual racing and everything, just because not everybody will have the time to sit there and run all these tests. Hopefully with the pro, it'll level it out just a little bit more.
Speaking about COVID, the situation in the world is still not promising, and which means that many restrictions will remain, especially in the first half of the season. But the question with the audience, in your opinion, the race will be held with spectators this season as well, or will there still be exceptions?
Oh my gosh, I think it's gonna be a little bit of both, like previous season. Races started with no audience, and then at the half towards the end of the season there was a little bit of audience. I feel the drivers do need that cheer from people watching them, you know? That's the main reason why they do it. They like to win. They like to prove to people they are the best. So this kind of gives them a little boost to their confidence. So I think, and I hope, that there is going to be audience, especially towards the end of the season, that, well, technically a lot of people are already going to have the vaccine and everything. So let's hope that it's a little bit more than 30% capacity by the end of the season. But it's been so unpredictable, I mean, COVID-wise, so it's really hard to tell. It's too soon to tell whether there's going to be any audience at all.
Totally agree. And I think, just writing off of that, what the also the thing to realize is that every country is different. Just like, here in America is so big, every state's different. What we're doing here in Texas, completely different what they're doing in California. Even just here in our country, like with certain races, we saw this happen in IndyCar. Some of them will have some spectators, some of them won't. I think it's going, yeah, I agree. It's going to be that same thing. I heard that here, like if you want to go to a concert, they're making you show proof of a vaccine. So, and I'm like, why do you guys even, like, concerts aren't that important, really? But that's just, Ticketmaster is like, where you buy the tickets here in concerts. So I'm wondering, my thing is, I'm wondering, are they going to start doing that? Some of the venues.
On the one hand, the spectators are not are on the other side of the track, and they are not in close contact with drivers. But on the other hand, their fans themselves are next to each other. Yeah, but but let's move on. Yeah, to the drivers. Everything seems to be fine. Everyone has contracts, but there is one thing. Lewis Hamilton is still not signed to Mercedes, and rumors around his contract are different, as well as comments. There is even an opinion that, after all, George Russell can replace him. So what do you think? Is it profitable for Mercedes to have such a driver as Hamilton, or is it time to replace him with a young one?
I don't know. We'd have to look at their numbers, because obviously, since Lewis Hamilton is in their team, Mercedes gets lots of sponsors year round, not only for the Formula One races, but also, year round. Some people just like giving them their money just because Lewis Hamilton is there. Since it's COVID, so many people don't just want to throw their money away. I feel it's going to be a bit harder to get additional sponsors this year. I mean, there's even been other teams that have lost sponsors. I mean, probably due to other reasons, but they've lost sponsors, and all the salaries have gone down, and there's even team cutting. So according to what Mercedes wants to do with their team, that they want to save more money, probably having Lewis Hamilton this season is not profitable at all. George Russell proved to everybody what he could do with Lewis's cars. Yes, Lewis is a super talented driver. There's no doubt about that. But as Max Verstappen has said before, sometimes it's not necessarily the driver. A lot of times it's also the car. So I don't want to get too much into this because it's such a controversial topic. Yeah. And I have so many things to say that I know would get me into trouble. So I'm just like, you know what? Let's keep it on the surface. And that's it for me.
Okay, well, I'm not going to hold back. So I will tell you. Okay, here's my thing. And I thought about this a lot. Okay, first of all, do we know what the was it rumored to be 200 million for 4 years?
Well, at least 50 million for this season.
Like I said, I don't know the exact numbers. So if I'm wrong, people can correct me. That's fine. Is Lewis Hamilton worth that much money? I'm going to go ahead and tell you, yes, he is worth that much money. He has brought so much to Formula One, to the team. He's not just a race car driver. He is something much more than that.
A celebrity.
He's a celebrity. He has brought audiences, and you get a lot of people that go, "Oh, you're just a Lewis Hamilton fan. You're not a racing fan." Yeah, that's right. And he brought people there to the sport. And do you know what I mean? Like he has reached out and been so marketable and been such a celebrity. He's gotten people that could care less about racing, but they care about him. Name a driver that can do that. I can't. However, we are in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, I don't know how bad Mercedes is suffering. All I know is that Ferrari has suffered because of this. They have had to make cuts. There are teams making cuts left and right. If it's true for 4 years, I have issues with that because he's at the end of his career. So if there was no pandemic, cool. Give it to him. The man has done so much, not only for the sport, for the team. However, like I said, the pandemic is here. And if you're going to have to make cuts, then you're going to have to take a price cut, Lewis. I mean, he's always profitable when he is Lewis Hamilton because he is, he's a superstar. He's a superstar. There's no other driver that pulls that off but him right now. I mean, currently. And like I said, is he worth it? Yes. However, I think not right now because of the pandemic and because you're asking for 4 years when, by the way, we're expecting to see some engine changes, right? We're expected to see all kinds of regulation changes, and who knows how that'll affect anything, right?
So, like, out of topic, but when you said he's a superstar and that he brings so much to the Formula One and to the sport, the Formula One posted a photo of, or it was the Australia Grand Prix, one of them too, a photo of the social media stars, and Lewis Hamilton was like 16 million over the second place in social media. So
that's exactly what I'm saying is that sometimes people look at this as a bad thing. We love Formula One. We think Formula One is the most amazing thing ever. We live it, we breathe it. But the majority of people in this world could care less about motorsports. In all of the world, motorsports and racing is such a small sport compared to the other sports. So when you have somebody being that high on social media for a race car driver, it's huge.
Yeah, I think Lewis is a legendary driver in his prime, and it would be very interesting, of course, to see his 8th title, and he's making history before our eyes. But at the same time, at some point, you need to leave and give young drivers the opportunity to show themselves. But this is a sport, and at the same time, for example, Fernando Alonso is back in Formula One, and I'm very interested to see the level of his performance this year, and will Alonso be able to compete for the top 3 this year, in your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, I've thought it since the beginning. I watch and rewatch Drive to Survive over and over again. And we can see how good of an engineer Fernando Alonso is and how badly Renault, now Alpine, wants to go back to where they once were, to the top 3. So in my opinion, I mean, Fernando Alonso had already retired. He had already his karting company and everything. Me personally, I think he had no interest in coming back to the Formula One until he got offered, the role he's having this season, which for me, I think he's going to be doing a lot of engineering regarding the car, because that was a problem that Cyril always said. They always knew there was something wrong with the car, but they could never really figure out what it was. And Fernando Alonso gets to know their cars all the cars that he drives really, really well. And he's already been with Renault in the past. So he has a little bit of experience with that team and with the engine and everything. So yes, I personally think, I mean, he's a race car driver, you know, he's super competitive. He obviously wants to get a good position, but I think his purpose here is merely engineering and, well, to get Alpine to become higher again.
I actually didn't think about it that way at all. No, that is such a good, no, I'm glad like you said that. That's such a good point. I was just going to go with a whole nother thing, but no, that's such a good thing. I agree. It is something you forget about him, that he is such an engineer. He's Fernando Alonso, and he's such a great character. You know, he's such a great legendary driver as well. And you forget that he is so heavily, you know, a part of that. I think that if you asked about the top three, right, Justina, if he could be in the top three. So I think, does he have the driver ability? Absolutely, 100%. He can do it all. I mean, you put him in anything and he's good to go. He's that great of a driver. Wondering about, I'm hoping that he has been able to work on this car as much and get it to where it is. But last year, you know, we saw them some promising things. And why would Fernando Alonso come back just to come back?
Exactly. That's exactly my point. I mean, he had no intentions about coming back. So I'm like, he has a different purpose in the Formula One this season. And at the same time, we don't know for how long he's going to be back either.
No, that's true. We don't. Yeah, actually, it's so true. We don't know. We don't know at all. Like I said, he's not coming in just to come in because like, hey, you know, I want to drive F1 again. It's like there's something else deeper there. So obviously he knows something that we don't know is big over there. And I'm hoping to see those big things happening with Alpine, with him behind there. Top three, I'm hoping top three. Why would he come back for midfield?
Yeah, thank you, girls. Interesting opinions. And let's move on to talking about young drivers. This year, we will see the debut of Michael Schumacher's son, and he will play for the Haas team. And for the first time since 2012, a car with the name Schumacher will be present on the track. And the son of the seven-time world champion has already an impressive resume of his own. In 2018, he became the champion of Formula 3. 2 years later, he won the title in Formula 2, repeating the achievements of Charles Leclerc and George Russell. And what are your expectations for Mick, and will he become as great as his father?
Oh my gosh, I feel so sorry for him because he's so young and everybody has such huge expectations from him. And I'm sure he knows it. I mean, he's a son of Michael Schumacher. It's impossible not to expect anything from him. But then again, he's proven to the world that he's not just the son of a world champion, that he also has a potential to become a world champion. I mean, he's won the Formula 3 2 times, he's won the Formula 2 1 time, and now at only 21, he's already in the Formula 1. And he just tested for Ferrari, which everybody says is going to be his team in the future. I'm aware that he's in the Haas team. If Haas has an engine and a car like they did in 2018, then he can achieve a great result. If they have the same car they've been having these past seasons, I mean, I feel that he can actually end up in, well, the top last three positions, maybe not the last one, but I think he has to be aware of that too, to not pressure himself so much, because as we've mentioned before, it's not always the drivers. Sometimes it's the car. So this was something that used to happen to Romain and Kevin a lot. They would push their car so hard that they would always have to end up retiring the car before even half of the race because the engine wasn't capable of going that high and they would always push it more. So let's just hope that this doesn't happen to him. But I'm sure he's going to do great, either this season or the next season's on another team. But yes, I'm sure he has what it takes.
I agree 100% with everything. I'm going to speak a little bit more about the following in his dad's footsteps because I'm going to compare him. There are other father-sons out there and racing and stuff, but one that I'm very familiar with is, Mario Andretti had Michael Andretti, and then you had Marco. So let's look, if you look at them, Michael was highly, highly successful. Marco, the grandson, the son of Michael, not as successful successful. I think what you see is also people forget, they get so caught up in the Schumacher name, just like people get caught up in the Andretti name, everything. And you see this pressure that we talk about this in IndyCar, how the pressure has gotten to Marco, which is why he's left IndyCar full time, has scaled back finally. And we think it has, he hasn't talked to us about it yet, but it's obvious. And I think there's that balance, like Manana said, where you can't put too much pressure. I hope he doesn't put pressure on himself also, but I hope, he hangs on to the fact that he has great results that have brought him here. Let's be honest. The Schumacher name helps. I mean, we can't ignore that. I think Haas is going to be challenging, and hopefully they can give him a good car and a good opportunity to showcase that, because we are in Formula One and it is all about the car. I don't care. You could put Lewis Hamilton in a Haas. Do you think Lewis Hamilton is going to win races in a Haas?
To be honest, no.
Exactly. I mean, he's a wonderful driver. He's an amazing driver. Don't get me wrong. But no, we all know that. And Williams. Put him in a Williams. What they should have done is they should have done a switch.
Yeah.
Okay, what I mean is that the Haas will have to do that. I hope that they can give him a decent car so that he can shine, because the last thing that Mick needs is to be crapped on for not driving well in a crappy car. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I mean, you can ruin a driver's potential by having a bad car, which is everybody's fear regarding George Russell. They don't want him to be in the Williams team for too long because they don't want him to start losing his confidence, So that way, I think it was great that even if it was just for one race, that he got put into another team so that he could, regain his confidence and see that he actually does have potential. I hope they get Mick out of Haas soon enough so that he can actually shine.
And I hope that it doesn't affect his confidence too much, because the media is brutal. You see this, and going back to Marco Andretti, we've seen him be torn apart left and right, and he was just, I think that he probably was tired of it, to be honest. He has the Andretti name. Mick Schumacher has the Schumacher name. I really hope that he can stay focused on what he has done. Other media journalists will tear him apart and be brutal, and people are not going to be so nice, and they're looking for an excuse to tear him down. That.
Oh my gosh, definitely. I mean, like you said, he's a Schumacher. People are going to have all their focus on him. People can get to be really mean. I'm not saying everybody, but most of them, they're going to take up any excuse, like you said, to tear him down. I mean, this is exactly what happened to Nico Hülkenberg. Yeah. He used to win so much when he was on the Formula 2, on the Formula 3, Formula Karts, whatever. And then he reached the Formula 1 and he never, not once, reached the podium. This did so much to his confidence. So let's just hope this doesn't happen to Mick, because it's a little bit what is kind of happening to Jacques Leclerc, which is another driver who has so much world champion potential too.
Oh,
but unfortunately, Ferrari hasn't been that great lately. I mean, I'm a Ferrari girl, so.
I still support Ferrari though, so it's going to be interesting. You're going to see me look like a Christmas tree, because I'll be wearing green for Seb, red for Ferrari, so for Carlos and Charles. So it's going to be interesting. My color scheme. So, anyway, but yeah, going back, Manana, you summed it up. I think we're both on the same page with Mick. Definitely, we all hope that he doesn't lose his confidence in the Haas. We're happy, right? Everyone is happy. Who's not happy about Mick Schumacher being here?
Yeah, it will be big pressure for Mick. And let's talk about another person who will also receive pressure, I think. Japanese driver Yuki Tsunoda will partner Pierre Gasly. In the upcoming season, he impressed AlphaTauri during his first test in Formula One in Imola, and then he received an invitation to the test in Abu Dhabi. It was at the test that this transition was announced. So what do you think of him?
I was actually talking about this with somebody earlier this week. He's the youngest driver to join the Formula One this season. And well, what we said was that, okay, number one, he's going to be in a team that doesn't pressure their drivers that much. So that's good. Also, he knows he's coming in as a second driver. So that takes off even more pressure from him. But he's proven he has potential. I think Pierre Gasly is growing every day and he's such a great driver. But what I also think might happen here, because we've seen how dedicated and how perfectionist and how competitive Yuki is, also how centered he is. He's very mature for being so young. And we can see how when Jacques Leclerc joined Ferrari, he was the second driver and he knew it until eventually he ended up becoming the first driver. So I think if Yuki does remain in AlphaTauri the next seasons, I think this could be a possibility. I'm not jinxing Pierre at all, but Yuki is such a talented driver since the very beginning. I mean, he won the Japanese Grand Prix in 2018. I think it was a Formula 3 or something like that.
F4.
F4, sorry.
Yes. He won the F4 Japanese, sorry.
It was that. And he ended up in 4th place this season. So on Formula 2, so I think he could eventually become the first driver. I mean, that's my opinion. Maybe I'm being way too bold here, but that's what I think.
Was it 4th or 3rd? I can't remember for Yuki in F2. Was it 3rd? I thought it was 3rd.
Oh wait, no, I think it was 3rd. Sorry, it was
no,
3rd.
No worries. I wrote it down because I can't remember things. So I have to remember when it comes to the stats, I always have to because I never remember stats. So I am not that great, just so you guys know. Okay, that's the only reason why. Okay. Talking about Yuki, I'm excited about Yuki personally. It's a fresh face, fresh blood in Formula One. He's got the talent. You can tell he's got that focus. And like what Manana was saying, I think it's going to be probably one of those things where he'll come in and maybe he'll either push Gasly to do better, or he's going to push to be that number one driver, or he's going to push to be the number one driver. I mean, one of the two, right? He seems so level-headed. He seems so humble. He seems very calm and reserved. I haven't really seen a lot of press stuff with him. Have you girls seen him in press conferences or anything yet?
Not really, but I'm already following him on Instagram, and him personally, he posts a lot. But I feel he's like a very serious, quiet driver. Right. I feel he's like in his little world, so he shows people what he's doing, but not necessarily speaking up.
Yeah, and I get that sense from him too. I feel like Yuki is a little bit of, you always hear about those silent types you have to worry about, the people that are silent, they're under your radar because they're planning and they're working on stuff. And he has, let's just be real, we just talked about him being the F4 champion, and he's in F2, came in 3rd. Those are some good results. Those are some good stats to have coming in. I think you also mentioned just, I'm not, I hope I didn't jump ahead, but you said something, is he at AlphaTauri because he's Japanese?
No, I didn't Honda say that. Yeah. A lot of people are saying because of Honda, that's a reason why he made it. To be honest, I find no relation. Right. Honda isn't even going to be in the Formula One anymore. So why would they want Yuki to be there?
Yeah, well, no. I thought just, you maybe, I thought you mentioned it, but no, in our notes. But anyway, in our notes. But what I was going to say is, I think, who was the last Japanese driver? Was it Takuma Sato that was in Formula One?
I don't remember his name, but I think it was in 2010. So it's been a decade since they've had a Japanese driver.
I'm excited. We've got fresh blood. We have a fresh new driver, someone that has, there's another ethnicity to bring into the mix, which is always cool. And like I said, he's proven himself so far. I think he's going to be a fast driver. And going back to my main point with Yuki is he's either going to push Pierre to be better, or he's going to be gunning for that. Yeah, push him out, or he's going to push him out, try to push him out. I mean, it's Formula One. We know this. It's not a tea party. I always say that. It's not a tea party. We're not here to be friends. No, but...
no, it's British. It's not a tea party.
It's not a tea party. Yours is just so great. I can't... My accent's bad. Okay, don't even ask me to do like a British accent. But let's also talk about the fact too that AlphaTauri did pretty well last season too. So this is Formula One. He has to be given a good car, and but they also had good results. They had good results, and as long as AlphaTauri can keep that great momentum from last season, coming into this season, I don't see any why he can't do well.
They were opinions that a Japanese driver was taking only because of Honda, but I think this is a naive assumption since Honda will stop supplying engines to Red Bull after 2021. So Tsunoda has earned his place in the team, and Honda's decision will leave two teams without powertrains at once, Red Bull Racing and AlphaTauri. And by the end of the season, the teams will have to find another engine suppliers. Their list, in addition to Honda, includes Mercedes-Benz, Ferrari, Renault, and environmental initiatives in Honda are called one of the main priorities of the company as a manufacturer. And by 2050, Honda plans to achieve full self-neutrality in the environmental impact, and participation in Formula One is incompatible with these goals. Will it be set in Formula One without Honda? And given the situation between Red Bull and Renault in 2018, what kind of engine do you think they will acquire, and how will this affect the teams?
Personally, don't think Honda is going to be that missed because they were never that huge in the Formula One, to be honest. I just realized a year or two ago they were in the Formula One. I think Red Bull might go back to Renault because it makes absolutely no sense for them to ask their engine being made by Mercedes. I mean, they're their biggest competitor. Why would they want to give the rivals money? But then again, they do want to make Max the youngest world champion ever. So maybe they could go to Mercedes, but then again, that is going to depend a lot on Mercedes if they want to actually manufacture engines for Red Bull, because we all know Red Bull has huge potential to be world champion again. So I think it's a very delicate topic because, I mean, maybe Red Bull wants to go to Mercedes, but they don't because they're their rivals, or maybe they do want to go because they want a better engine, but then maybe Mercedes doesn't want to give out their secret. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's oh my gosh, it's so complicated. So I think they might just end up going back to Renault eventually.
I will say Honda has been such a part of Formula One history with Senna.
I know, I'm so bad.
No, not you. No, not you. No, not you. I mean, no, what I mean, like, how can you, not you, man? And I mean, like, Honda has been, it hasn't had such a great presence as the other manufacturers, right? That are here. It has such a huge presence in IndyCar. But you know, in the history of Formula One, Honda has been there. I personally want more manufacturers in there. It could, I mean, but look at Aston Martin doing the Mercedes already, and it's like pretty soon it's going to be Formula Mercedes because Mercedes is everywhere. I am sad, but I also think that it's probably a smart move for them to focus on other series that they're actually successful in, that they're doing well. Not that they're not successful with Red Bull, they are, but Formula One is so expensive. You have to be so committed to it. You have to give so much to be into Formula One. And here they are doing well in other series. And I bring up IndyCar, but they're doing so well in IndyCar. They're dominating in IndyCar. So at some point you have to get to that point where you have to realize, like, is this beneficial anymore? So I understand why they're doing it. Will they be missed? I mean, I think they'll be missed when you look at like the Formula One history, but if you look at the recent history, which I'm sure, Maneno, you were speaking to about the recent history of Formula One, they're not really, you kind of, and not to be mean, but you do kind of forget that, oh, they're in the series about that. Do I think Red Bull's going to go back to Renault? I mean, how proud is Christian Horner? Like,
I know.
It depends. And these people's egos, how fragile is his ego is the question. Not, is he going to go back to Renault? The question should be, how fragile is that man's ego? What it's going to come down to. And then we also have to think about, what is AlphaTauri going to do? I think AlphaTauri will probably go back to Renault. And I don't think it's going to be as, I don't think for them it's going to be hard. I think that's going to be an easy transition for them versus Red Bull, because nobody there has that it's not the same vibe over there.
And how do you feel about Formula One's environmental initiatives? Is it realistic to make it completely green by 2030?
I think it is, but a lot of people are fans of the Formula One because of the sound the engine makes. So they're going to have to find an alternative because the greener you go, the less noise the engine makes. So they're going to have to find either like fake noises or I don't know, just something to get people coming back. I mean, that's what separates the Formula One from a lot of other categories. Sound. It's mesmerizing to people that are actually into motorsports.
I mean, isn't the alternative Formula E?
Yeah, in a way.
I mean, and I'm joking, but that sounds like nails on a chalkboard when you hear those engines. I think anything's possible because anything is possible. Let's just be real, anything's possible. We're talking. Are we talking about the cars actually replacing like fuel and that stuff? Then I don't know because I have a hard time envisioning it. And I know that we make hybrid engines and we do, different engines and there have been ways that they're moving towards that, but I just can't imagine it going without the sounds like that, without like exactly what Manana was saying. I can't imagine Formula One without all of that. That's what the patrol heads like. That's what motorsports people like. I think that's just going to be so hard. I think that's going to be so hard to replace that. To work towards things, I think it's important. And I think the carbon footprint is very important. But when you think about it too, it's like these are just cars going to certain tracks. I mean, look at the rest of the world. We're all, we're so far behind too in that way. So I don't know.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of you girls. Yeah. So it's time for our last question for today. Could you share what you mostly expect from the 2021 season?
Oh my gosh, I hope. What I expect the most, that the same thing that happened on 2020 doesn't happen again. It's very surreal to expect that, but that's my only expectation. And that none of the drivers have COVID again.
What do I expect? In terms of expectations, I feel like we should expect the unexpected, but in a good way. I'm hoping that we'll get this COVID stuff happen for a reason, and it's going to make Formula One a little bit more entertaining, a little bit more interesting, something in a good way, like in a positive way. Maybe some more drivers getting podiums that
definitely,
that haven't gotten podiums. Maybe even a driver that gets a race win that, hasn't had one.
A race win by Mick. I expect that.
Right? Yes, that's what we expect. But like I said, I just go back to expect the unexpected. It's going to be a trickle from 2020. So, which we had some pleasant surprises, right? In 2020. And I think hopefully we get more of that.
Yes, it's great. And I share your opinion. And I hope this season will be held in full without changes, with the fans in the stands and with the media in the paddock. Cannot wait towards the Drive to Survive.
Yes.
So I think you too. So girls, this concludes our podcast. Manana and Mandy were with us. Thank you girls and hope to talk to you soon. Thank you to everyone who watched and listened to our podcast, and stay tuned with Osservatore Sportivo.
Thank you. Ciao.
Bye bye.